I think it's recording, at least, so that's good.
You mean we have to behave now?
Well, you know.
Oh, behave.
Let's not take that
Damn
too.
it, Jason.
Let's not take it too far. All right. So, full speed ahead. We have had to overcome a little bit of difficulty this week with stuff and things and other stuff and more things, but we are here, and we are still in the future, or at least our characters are. So, when we last left our heroes, what?
We're about to split the party.
We were about to split the
Again.
party, as one does when
And-
one is alone in a hostile territory. Certainly.
Well, we're doubling the hostile territory we're splitting into, so I mean,
That's-
it all works out great.
So it's like we have several dangerous environments to go into. How can we handle this? Well, I'd say we go into them all at once to make sure that they're all covered appropriately. What's risk if it's not exponentially increased? All right, so I believe, let me see, going toward the Sepiaverse in some way, shape, or form, we have Alicia, JC, the current sort of, I guess,
Grail
Grail Knight.
The last Grail Knight.
Grailish night.
Charlotte, and is it just those three? Or
I think Adam was going to come along.
Adam was going to come along, and then Adam
Right.
reversed his thinking, I think.
Technically, I always wanted to not go.
Okay. So, yeah, Adam is sticking around because of,
Oh, Harry was coming with us.
yes, correct, Harry.
And Harry.
So, Harry, Charlotte, Alicia, and JC.
And we had discussed a couple options for Concord, either duplication or some other interaction. Mike, I don't know if you came up with anything that was interesting, but it feels like now would be the time for that.
Yeah, for sure. If that's your gig, if that's your jam away.
Well, I can certainly do that because it's in Concord's power set, but I don't know. Yeah, if it'd be helpful.
Well, you never split between dimensions before, so that's kind of fun. But
That could lead to all sorts of things.
What could possibly go wrong?
I mean,
But yeah, at least from the Adam sense of view at the moment, he really kind of wants his attention focused on this side.
okay. I think
So-
that's probably. I mean, I know there's some desire there to get some Grail Knight interaction and stuff like that, but there's a lot of potential stuff going on here with him, with Sable Star apparently lurking in the wings, and all that kind of thing. So, yeah, I support his desire to sort of be in one place at a time right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's pretty good. And that gives, so that's Concord and Link and the Newmans and the extended Newmans and the future Newmans and all other kind of stuff kind of over here with Vector. Is that right? And then Harry and Charlotte and Alicia and JC heading into Oblivion. Oh, Sepiaverse.
Harry and the girls crossing over, and Harry too, and the rest of the
All right, Harry too.
shenanigans there
Right.
on the side.
The shenanigans.
Oh.
Leo and the Shenanigans. Doo-wop cover band. Doo-wop bluegrass cover band.
Yeah, when we find Jason, we're gonna doo-wop his ass.
All right. So I think, unless people had something they wanted to get to right away, I'll probably deal with the people crossing over the Sepiaverse first, and to a certain extent, it was kind of like it was a little bit of we'll give you the signal, and then you guys go. What's the signal?
So before we go,
yes.
Actually, and everybody's been busy prepping and everything, and Charlotte, Alicia, that's my character.
Whatever.
Only one at a time. Comes striding out of the conference room down the hallway that's seen so much traffic lately. And goes over to Leo.
Right. Okay. This is post?
This is post other conversations just before we go.
Right.
Two things. First, that Jason here is unlikely, all things considered, to have had his memory fixed the way ours was. That might make him less stable, more prone to isolation and manipulation. Rook may have used that. You might too. Second, you told me not to kill Jason. I'm asking you to not do that same thing. Unless you have to, do not let him kill you.
Okay.
All right. And I somehow, I mean, because of the silence, I'm picturing Alicia like opening her mouth or several times considering like more to say, but not being argued with. So kind of like
she's getting used to it from the news. She
damn agreeable, despotic conspiracy to take over the world.
Yes, something like that. She pivots on her heels and goes over to Team Sepiaverse.
All right. So, I'm sorry that I'm chewing on ice. I think we had established when you guys came through that the sort of landing area for your arrival back or here was actually quite a bit like a landing area. In that his sensors and various pods and whatnot kind of looked a little bit like a landing strip and a control panel. In what fashion, Alicia, have you modified this thing for sort of the cross-dimensional hop kind of thing? Like how is it different, or is it different?
Well, what I've jury-rigged, as I recall, and I should probably pull up what my notes were from that, but I think the answer was
It was a question of changing it to a sideways hop rather than a temporal hop, and also not requiring a wound or being more subtle kind of thing. So there was a little bit of like vibrational jiggery pokery and
yeah. Yes, because between some dead nanobots that I've been carrying around that have the proper information, and the gadget that I've worked out, and presumably I think we had decided that we just needed the appropriate vibrations from Mercury, and doing that sort of quantum vibratory shift would let us just kind of like slip through.
Kind of putting, and interfacing that with some of your own, like some extra external energy. That doesn't feel like you're electrocuting him this time. I know you had cleared a couple of conditions during some of the little bits that you were doing during the week. Is there anything that you, outside of an actual scene, like did that cleared out stuff that I should know about? Or anybody else for that matter.
I used my blowing off steam to clear off a condition as well, so I'm left with guilty at the moment.
The blowing off
Uh,
steam is like random acts of criminality.
Yeah,
or whatever?
I picked up some I from the various gear that was kind of like stuffed in the conference room unused. I pulled out some little high-tech modules and slipped in my pocket because might be interesting to study once we get back home.
Cool.
And they won't be missed. I mean, nobody's using this conference room.
Certainly not as a conference room, although as a constant meeting room, it's been something of a thing. Okay. I think that's about it, and we already had the roll for that. So, I think we just need to line everybody up and go, go, go. I think we already had the overcome to get everything already lined up, so it should be working. It should absolutely be working. It should absolutely just work the way it should. Where do you take this thing? Where do you set this thing up? And again,
Probably we shouldn't do it in the middle of the swamp.
no, that's probably not good.
Is
Certainly
there
not.
is there a nearby graveyard?
Sure. Within 20 minutes travel, probably. Sure. It's
Okay,
again
but-
kind of dry as a bone, ghost-wise, but there's one there.
But what
The
could go
other
wrong on the other
side-
side where we've heard that there's a world of ghosts?
That's
Other
not.
land on the other
Nope,
side.
That's fine. I'm just.
The land on the other side.
I think we need to be. I mean, the goal was to close the wound in the world, so we want to be within easy travel distance of.
I mean, you're not
the-
you're not especially far away from the city. It's like
Yeah,
20 miles.
but we also don't want to spend an hour or two walking to the city or something like
No.
that. So.
No.
And just kind of looking at the crew, we've got Charlotte, who we know can manage her own transportation. Harry, ditto.
Did we say you packed the bike?
I packed the bike, absolutely.
Well then,
So
did we
I
do
guess
it as
JC and I could travel on the bike.
or JC can go with Charlotte. She's technically the one with the Kirby Craft thing. You're just that's your the bike's part of your power set. It's not technically a Kirby Craft, but in any case, getting around's not really going to be that big of an.
Okay.
Certainly not a completely insurmountable.
Okay, so we can start outside of the city, which is probably
Sure.
just as well. So if you would prefer, Charlotte, to start at a local graveyard, we
Local
can certainly
graveyard,
do that.
I
I don't know if it would. I mean, yeah, we probably don't want to go into Halcyon to
No.
try to cross over. No, that probably wouldn't be a good idea.
I don't believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Joyce, but I don't believe we've made much progress in terms of identifying the potential holes, the potential gaps at a distance. Top
No,
of one, but we
not
haven't
really.
done anything to,
Um,
and it's not like we're going to go and find the one in South America or something like
yeah,
that.
and you have some. Well, and there may not be any other ones. If there was any kind of, I mean, if you're Rook and you control a resource and you can't control all the resources, and somebody else is working at wiping out all the other potential competing resources, you kind of let them, as long as they can't get to yours or whatever. So who knows what the situation in the rest of the world is? This is the current issue. And yeah, you're probably, given the samples that you guys have been able to get here, getting back and working out some kind of detector is going to be a lot more within the realm of possibility, certainly, going forward. But for right now, it's you haven't figured out how to do that, or even really made any motions.
Time to do anything.
Yeah, I really haven't made any motions in that direction at this point. Okay, so nearby graveyard, 20 minutes away, give or take. Set the thing up through the gravestones. Place is pretty much abandoned. Not not terrible. It's not overgrown or anything. If somebody comes out here and mows, but it's like a country church that nobody, the church, like the church doesn't have a bell anymore. It's been removed. There's like an old faded for sale sign on the side of the building. So the church is no longer running. The cemetery is being kept up by probably some locals or something coming out once a month to mow or whatever. So it's it's out in the middle of nowhere. Bunch of groups of families that probably don't even live around here anymore, stuff like that. And you can set the whole thing up and power it up, and what's it again? Is this functionally different than how it looked before?
Yes, because I'm not working it through a nanobot infused shirt.
Well, no,
So-
that's not what I was. How it looked like bots version of this same tech is what it was more what I was asking. Have you modified it from the way, like sort of the landing lights, like runway kind of setup that he was doing? Is it more of like a circle? Is it more of a
Yeah,
it
it's
small?
a-
Is it bigger? That's what I'm curious about.
It's small. It's basically it's kind of gather around everybody and hold on to the person next to you kind of a thing.
I see. Okay.
I wouldn't anticipate it would be much like Bot's landing zone, because that was a time machine, not a dimensional portal. I mean, duh.
And the fact that there's some sort of association between those, well, of course it's not a landing strip. This isn't a time machine. Okay. All right. As long as it makes sense to you.
Hyper genius.
Sure. Okay, so you activate that thing and sure, and we get over into, we need another cemetery. Let's get ourselves in the cemetery here. It's the same old cemetery, but
How's a cemetery?
cemetery's a cemetery. We haven't seen this cemetery in a while, I think. Did everybody get it? Did it load correctly? All that kind of stuff.
No, I'm gonna have to reload it.
Really?
Yeah,
Well,
it loaded
because-
correctly for me.
Well, it's because I still have GM privs. So
Oh, right.
therefore
Yeah, you've got to
It does not automatically change the screen when another GM changes it, which is fine. That's fine.
Yeah, all powerful, etc.
Oh yes, it's the graffiti cemetery. Yay!
The graffiti cemetery. Lovely.
I was gonna say, as long as it's not the cemetery from the previous
That's not what I want. Previous what?
Don't go to sleep cemetery.
Oh, sure. For some reason, I can't find the thing I'm looking. Oh, there it is. Yay, I found it. All right, so JC lets out a very heartfelt, not safe for work oath or curse. Harry, you're feeling fine. This is the first time you really had to interface with Alicia's tech, and it's not, well, no, not the first time. It's only the second time, and it's much less pleasant. It's much less painful than the last time you had to interact with Alicia's tech, where she was shooting you with the electric bolts. Everything seems to be holding together, Alita. Nothing like smoked and fried out and destroyed circuits or anything of that nature, so that's a good thing. Charlotte, what do you... Oh, I like how you guys are putting R's on all the buildings. That makes me really happy. Anyway, and yeah, on this side, the city is probably a little bit further away, being also considerably worse shape. But Charlotte, what's the first thing you do when you get over here?
Besides like look around and feel for the ghosts and
Okay.
see who's at home.
Well, you look around and hang on, I gotta figure out if I'm expressing my my nascent cosmology correctly here. Yeah, that works. So looking around, the first thing that you notice, Alicia's sort of checking the stuff, and Harry's just sort of making sure all of his parts are still there, and JC's not sure what to expect. You see these guys.
Oh no, not again.
Kind of like mold growth all over the cemetery. Not sure specific. And the only place you've ever seen those things before was in the shadow area, like realm area. So that's kind of, and only in certain areas. So that's fun. In fact, this whole version of the Sepiaverse feels a lot more like the Shadow Realm than normal stuff typically does. Or you can't help but think should. It's not, oh, we're in the Shadow Realm, but it's a hell of a lot closer. Also, there's a very distinct sense as you sort of like reach out and go, where are my spirit friends? Where are the ghosts? That kind of thing. That there's a very strong sense of, like there's only one answer to that question. Like when you think of like where are the spirits, there's literally, as near as you can tell, only one direction to point.
Okay. Well, that's convenient.
It's a very strong presence, and they're all kind of over there. And when you look that direction, you see basically a super. Oh wait, do I have a picture of a supercell? Yeah, hang on.
Looking for that. Remind me the fungus stuff.
That was.
I'm trying to remember. That was a while ago. That was with like.
You were seeing it.
If I did anything about it other than think it looked icky.
You were seeing it in two different places. You were seeing it around the edge. Okay, so my cosmology.
Near the house where our freak was.
Yeah, it was near the house where the freak was at, so where he had all the demonic activity, and it was also. I happen to. I'm going to eat all this. Just telling you that's going to go away now. All right. Cool. Did you go in for the girl? Yeah. So, I'm sorry to digress, but I have to digress. Somebody who's a friend of my wife's, one of our authors, suggested that we would be amused by the show Nailed It, which is sort of a cooking show where they show you a really fancy thing and then a bunch of people who can't really cook that well try and do it, and they're terrible.
It's kind of like can't cook, won't cook.
I mean, these guys want to cook, but they're like, it's not like we're going to teach you how to cook. It's like we need you to do a working volcano that's also 6 different kinds of fondant that you're going to make by hand, and and then they put it next to the other one, and it's terrible. Anyway, it's a very short show. It's only like 6 episodes on Netflix, and it was like a gateway drug. First one's free, kind of deal, and it left my wife wanting to watch something else, something in that area. And I found 2 days ago that she had queued up, also at the suggestion of this same author, the Great British Baking Bake Off
Mm-hmm.
or something. And we have been, I am somewhat ashamed to admit, binge watching it because it's hilarious and about as British as it can possibly be. And then today, she informed me that she had gone shopping and somehow, through no fault of her own, come home with several packets of yeast. And she just walked up into the office with a palm-sized homemade soft pretzel that she made from scratch, and it is delicious. It's so
It's quite
good.
wonderful.
It's pretty good. Anyway, that's my
Speaking of binge watching, Voltron season 6 drops on Friday.
yay. That's awesome. All right,
Unfortunately, we'll be off at the Incredibles, so
yeah, but next day. All right.
It's short enough.
So you had seen these around Demon Witch Boy, Ghost Heart, around his area. And, okay, if the Sepia-verse dimension is one slice of bread, and the Halcyon verse was another slice of bread, the Shadow realm is sort of the peanut butter and jelly in between. And where the wounds are, there is no peanut butter or jelly. And what you had discovered was, if you're in, like, on those spots where there is no peanut butter and jelly and you try to go into the Shadow realm, you just drop through to the other side. Hence the wounds. That's where the wounds are. What you had discovered also was if you were in the Shadow area and came up to the edge of the wound, the areas around the wound had a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like around the edges. You don't know what the purpose was, whether it was a manifestation of the injury, whether it was scar tissue.
I didn't want to touch it and I didn't play with it.
You definitely did not play with it. There are about a dozen different things that it could be manifesting, but any of them then manifesting in the regular mundane world is odd. All right? So, that's thing number one. Thing number two is mentally, I will call upon you to, I'm sure I've got this picture somewhere, but, all right. Oh, that's perfect. View, visit, here, and we'll go over into chat. I'd like you just to mentally combine this image feel free to click on the actual image to get it nice and big, okay? Because that's to scale, and so combine that image and oh, don't tell me I lost it. There it is, and this one. Oop-a-doop. Take that. Make it a supercell-sized phenomena. Not over the city or anything.
Great image, by the way.
I like it. I'm a fan. Well, like, you know. Save that other one as an asset. So, a spiritual supercell, if you will. A spirit supercell, if you will. That's where all the ghosts are.
Are they forming the supercell, or are they just?
They are, yeah, yes. They're not swept up in some kind of, it's not some sort of storm that is sweeping out spirits. It's a storm of spirits. It's a lot. Like, well, actually, first thought is, I think the sheer mass of this is quite a shock to Charlotte's system, or at least potentially could be a shock to Charlotte's system. Charlotte, I'm actually going to ask you to take a powerful blow as you take in the scope of this.
But even though I had forewarning, huh? Okay.
Even well, you did. It's all ghosts is a little bit different than oh my sweet merciful crap. Like it's actually almost worse that way because you had warning and you had no idea it was going to be this bad, kind of thing. You just roll conditions.
Right.
That's not. Could be worse. Could certainly be worse. Okay, so when you take a powerful blow, you may get a second opportunity to do this, so don't worry. Roll conditions marked on a 7 to 9. Choose one.
If I hadn't picked up Afraid from our end of sequence, I would have been good. Anyways,
It's good that
I'm teasing.
it's actually it's good that Afraid is the thing that
I
tips
guess
you
this is
over,
the one that's
honestly.
backwards.
Yeah, low would
Right.
have.
Okay.
Yeah, low
Yeah.
would have gotten you. It's good that Afraid honestly pushed you up. You lash out verbally, provoke a teammate to foolhardy action, or take advantage of your influence to inflict a condition. You give ground, your opposition gains an opportunity. Struggle past the pain. Mark 2 conditions. So that's kind of ugly. How did we figure out the reverse kung fu work to kind of help somebody in this kind of a situation? Is there any? I'm not sure if there is. You've got to like use your influence to penalize somebody's roll, right?
Yeah, somebody expends influence in order to help them out.
And that like drops your roll by 2?
2.
So it's not really a team point kind of situation. What's that?
Still, when it's not.
No, moving it by 2 moves you down into like the 7 down to a 5. It's a fail at that point, in which case you don't take any conditions. You don't take a.
So if I didn't have Afraid, I would have been at a 6.
Mm-hmm. Which would have been good.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Essentially, I mean, the possibility exists here for somebody to sort of burn their influence with you in the moment and snap you out of it before anything happens.
What was the first option? I'm trying to, let me pull it up.
The first one is you lash out verbally, provoking a teammate to foolhardy action, or taking advantage of your influence over them to inflict a condition on them. So rather than you taking a condition, you sort of put it on somebody else, which I'm not sure how you get there.
Right.
I'm not sure. I'm not saying that's not me saying.
Damn it, Jason isn't going to help right now.
Yeah, I'm not saying the option isn't there. I'm saying me personally, I'm sitting there. If I'm playing Charlotte, I'm not sure how I get to that move.
I can think of a way.
It would be inflicting Afraid on somebody. If I react
Oh.
negatively to it, it would provoke,
Yeah,
you know,
I can see
a
that.
teammate to.
I can actually.
You know.
You're right. That's a really good.
You get all ghosty and angry about this, all of a sudden people start giving you the sideways look.
If Charlotte, who is a ghost, freaks out about a thing that looks like a big pile of ghosts, and she's freaking out, I can easily see where somebody that
might scare someone.
somebody that you have influence over is going to be affected by that. It's really at that point in time just a question of picking who, because you have influence over pretty much everybody but JC at this point.
It could be me, since I had the talk with Future Mercury.
And he already kind of has you a little bit on edge about this.
Yeah.
It could be me for that matter, since I've been the one who's been sort of daunted by Charlotte, and if Charlotte is all of a sudden going, gah, 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 gah.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, honestly, you know, this is dealer's choice, Charlotte. You can kind of, and that's having somebody take a condition is probably the least damaging of all the possible results here, all things considered. And I like the story of it. You see this thing and you kind of blanch, and the wide eyes.
Doing that's so not me. Like,
well, yeah, but it's separated a bit because it's the player making the choice, but Charlotte isn't purposely saying, I'm going to shunt this fear over to you. You know, you have a reaction. It freaks out somebody next to you. That's about the most teenager thing I could possibly think of.
Well, and it kind of goes with, like, if I rolled like a 10, which is lose control of yourself or your powers in a terrible way. So
right.
It's sort of like,
this is a very minor version of that. You know, you lose control of yourself which is to say you show that it's freaking you out. You know, and you're already afraid. So this just builds on that and spills over to somebody else. Again, it's not Charlotte intentionally going, you know.
No, I just have to get past that myself.
Yeah, I get it. It's a bit of mental. I get it. It's a bit of mental gymnastics. But I think the people who could potentially receive this as a thing are all okay with how this would work. It all makes sense for people.
And to be honest, I think if I just said something like, God damn it, Jason, that would be enough to freak the people who know me out because I don't curse.
Oh, that's a good point. In that case, I'm
just sort of looking in the direction, getting a little bit more translucent, starting to on
in that instance,
control of my powers, and I just.
In that instance, I'm going to say that the person that takes the condition is definitely going to be Harry because he's known you longer. So the fact that this is out of character is going to carry a lot more weight with him than it will with I think with Alicia. It'll be more striking to him and thus more impactful, and therefore he should be the one who takes the afraid. Does that sound good? That sound fair? All right.
I owe you one.
Mercury, take an afraid as you follow her gaze and see what your older counterpart was thinking of. So somehow all the ghosts are here, Charlotte.
I kind of figured that one out.
And I don't mean like all the ghosts.
Both sides.
All the ghosts, full stop. Yeah, somehow, and you're not a dimensional person, but they all seem to be, and not all. You can't imagine that's not all the spirits in the world kind of thing, or certainly not in two worlds. Certainly not in one, but certainly a very significant geographical location has been concentrated down to this thing it's not over the city, it's near the city, and it's like 20 or 30 miles across. It's just massive. Right. What do you do? I'm not sure if I'm picking you up.
No, she's considering.
I just said
okay.
I would say, I myself back together, and I'll say something like, well, I think it's obvious where we need to go.
Harry, what do you do? Do you do anything at this point? Anything special, specific?
Besides balking slightly and wishing I could
go back home,
be part of the team that's punching Jason.
Okay.
The team punching Jason.
Kind of silently wishing that you were with the other team, going in to punch Jason. Cut to the other team whose job it is to punch Jason. As you guys head off that direction. So the devices, I will say parenthetically, the devices are not on this side. Again, it's sort of a dimensional skyhook kind of thing. So real quick, Alicia, under what circumstances is like, did you bring a gizmo along that if that thing is active and we're standing in the right place, the gear will grab you? Because that part you're kind of stuck with as part of like how the whole thing was originally engineered in the first place. How is that? What conditions need be met for you to be pulled back to the other side? Think about that,
Yeah.
because we're walking away from this and the audience is looking at it saying, there's no control panel on this side. How are they getting back? And the editor's little note down the corner says, you know, all will be revealed before page 26, gentle reader. Now back to the other side. So the Sepiaverse team departed, heading out for a nearby cemetery now, I guess, graveyard, whatever. And that leaves, we'll focus primarily here for at least on Concord and Link. And a little bit of time for thumb twiddling and stuff. There's, you know, as they head out, Arius says something about going to go down and check and make sure that how Bot is doing in the virtual sim, and Otto and Vector are somehow talking about stuff. They're small talking and stuff. So what are you, Link, or Concord, what are you guys up to in this meantime? Do you immediately set out? Is there a time window that you're waiting on, or intel or recon or what? What's happening at this point while there's a little bit of a moment of silence in the base?
So my understanding is that we don't have anything that we need to coordinate with the other side. We just need to basically get Jason off the field, deal with Sablestar or anyone else who might have equipment that would detect what they're doing with the breach from the other side. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Be a distraction.
Some of it was, yeah, there's certainly being a distraction. Some of it was sort of, I think there was some thought that you were, what do I want to say? Maybe to a certain extent waiting to see if anything was going to happen with that portal before you really went to town, but maybe not, depending on who you're going after or any of that kind of stuff. So to a certain extent, it's like, yeah, engage them and keep them from realizing that anything else is going on, any of that kind of stuff. So proceed. I mean, the plan is whatever you guys decide the plan is. So I'm good with that. So what's happening right now? I mean, are you suiting up and getting ready to roll out, or is that the deal?
Oh yeah, like well Leo's going to wait for his friends to be ready, so that's really all that he's waiting on, and he's going to check with Adam to see if there's anything that he needs. And we had that conversation on the forums, but this is basically the follow-up of, like, you know, are you going to go draw Sablestar away? Do you want me to be there as backup? Like, what do you need from me?
Right.
Yeah.
How are you feeling? How are you feeling after that conversation you had with Link, by the way? Where are
that direct towards Adam?
Yes, towards Adam. Sorry.
Yeah, Adam's like, you know, this is kind of all on him at this point. Is like, he was given far more. You are the master of your own destiny in that one speech than he's probably gotten from anything else. So, he's definitely like, okay, yeah, we can do this. This is a thing.
Your interaction with Link up to this point has been a lot of like, I am here to support you in whatever, you know, you're going to need help and I'm here to support you. It may not have been explicitly you're going to need help, but it's sort of assumed in the, when you need help, I'll be there for you. And this conversation has been a lot like less of that and a lot more, you got this, you know, this is your thing. You can do this, kind of. Less like I'm, you know, more I am totally rooting for you, cheering for you, confident in you, and a lot less I'm going to be your safety net. Is that it, or is that off the mark a bit?
No, that sounds right.
Okay. All right.
So, yeah, I mean, as soon as Link's ready, Adam's basically ready to go knock on the front door to be the distraction. I don't know if you had a better idea there, Bill, but I had something in mind.
I left my stealthiest approach as a link in the Roll20 chat.
That's not very stealthy, so
I got to see now. I didn't look.
I will definitely then.
Link's stealthy approach to Jason.
There is no Easter Bunny,
Nice.
there is no Tooth Fairy, and there is no Queen of England. This is the real world, and you need to wake
So
up.
basically, yeah, as soon as Arya and Otto are ready to go, we'll suit up and get out there.
Can I just say, for the record, Megamind is a tragically underrated movie.
I've never seen it, so.
Oh, really? Oh.
Uh-huh.
It came out, I think, if not the same week, then certainly the same month as Despicable Me. And
It was right there in that same few weeks.
it suffered for it is an absolutely recommendable movie. It's one of my kids' favorites. I think it's great. I just think I enjoy it immensely. Tragically underrated movie.
It came out in a period where I was not watching a lot of movies, so it just never was on my radar that much. Other than it exists.
It's just yeah. Actually, it's funny because even to this day, my daughter still will occasionally say, "Thank you for dropping me off at Shul." Anyway, great show. Right. So everyone's ready to be the distraction. At least that's what I'm getting from Link. Are you guys sort of splitting up a little bit then to look for different people? Is that the thing?
Well, Bill, stop me if this is like stepping on anyone's toes here, but why don't we just get them all to come to us?
I don't want them to come to the base,
No,
but yeah.
no. This would be more like Concord basically flying out towards Quill or Rook Tower. Pick your best there, and just like, giant energy construct to draw people's attention towards him is just like, well, that doesn't happen every day around here.
That was pretty much the idea, except Leo was going to fly out there first to get Jason's particular attention.
I see.
Because as far as I know, he's got more of a connection to Jason than Concord did.
Well, certainly.
yeah.
I mean, that's this universe's origin. Jason's origin story is the whole thing that happened with Link, really, because that's where
But honestly, it could go either way.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, I figure it is more likely that Concord doing this is more likely to draw out the minions than Jason himself.
Concord doing this? Yeah.
Yeah. If, all of a sudden there's just like this big, skywriting version of, hey, can Jason come out to play? It's much more likely for him to be, or, that would be where the evil villain would be like, minions, go deal with this nuisance.
Well, yeah, but honestly, that is so far into the Bull's wheelhouse that that's hardly a downside. Because, there's a lot of stuff going on there, but I mean, if somebody that looks like Link shows up, obviously it's not Link. It can't be Link because he knows what happened to Link, and that can't be Link. And even if it is Link, it's a pale, pale, pale reflection of the real Link, the way it used to be. So yeah, minions, Rookbots, blah 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 blah. Send them out, and we proceed from there. Will Jason eventually show up? Yeah, very likely.
Sounds good. Let's do that.
Yeah. And then once that's sort of en route, then Concord coming from another direction. Concord will get the attention he's looking for toot sweet. So they're not the same attention set, so that's just fine. So So the first thing with Leo, talk to me about now. Are we summoning Phoenix? The Phoenix at this point? Are we bringing the Phoenix plane
Yeah,
back?
it's definitely coming back.
Okay.
If it has had time to breed, we'll get more. Cycle time for that is about 25 hours.
Okay. Do they get that big that fast? I suppose it depends on what the materials are available and all that kind of good stuff.
It's entirely based on available materials, yeah. Like one of the 2 strengths for the Kirby craft that I took was regeneration,
Right.
and this is basically how I'm interpreting that.
Okay. Let's save the extra ones for a second. You said 24 hours? I don't think you guys have been here really barely that long. You were in.
That's what I was wondering, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you've been here that long. Maybe overnight, kind of going into the next day. I don't think it's quite been that long. Whether or not eggs have been laid and what they're doing and that kind of thing this is really kind of creepy, sort of alien terraforming stuff seen from through a certain lens. Cool though.
My whole job is to kill Alicia via aneurysm. Don't tell.
Just thinking.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, how horrified would she be by this? So when we say through a certain lens, it would be Alicia's lens, like her actual eye sockets. Okay, so how do you go about calling the Phoenix back? Is it a radio signal kind of thing?
Yeah, there's a radio signal that we can
Okay.
send.
All right. So you kind of get away from the base a little bit and call it up. What do you do initially over the city, around the city, or whatever to go? the super heroic throat clearing that's going to say, "I'm here." Does the Phoenix dump you out in full on auto Aria meld? That would.
Oh, I thought we agreed Concord was going first.
That could. I mean, either way. Which is it? You guys tell me. I had thought we'd reversed it a little bit, but that's fine too. Adam, do you want to be the first one in?
I'm good either way.
Your arrival is really the more shocking.
No. After
Because you haven't been part of this equation at all in this world for a good long while. So for you to show up is definitely going to be kind of a big deal. So, all right.
Actually, if that's the case, Bill, you go right ahead.
Okay.
You want to be the shocker? Yeah.
I have my own plans.
All right.
That's fair, yeah. Then, yeah, we've got a jet. We're going to fly it into the middle of downtown, wherever Quill's holdings are known to be. And Leo's basically going to be standing on top of it in armor, and he's got a PA, and he's going to be yelling, "Hey, Jason Quill, guess who's back?"
Nice. So yeah,
if you want me to roll subtlety at -5, I can do that. That's
actually,
would that be a provoke?
I was actually gonna. Well, there's 2 parts to this actually. The first thing is that when you show up and you're showing off and all this other kind of thing, I feel like the first thing is probably going to happen is going to be a swarm of security bots that keep the city in order kind of thing before anything seriously gets going with like the big names kind of a deal. There's definitely a kind of the initial wash of bot minions and that kind of thing. And we can do this as a directly engage, but I also kind of like it as a unleash your powers, like get through the chaff kind of thing. But I'm entirely flexible as to how the player would like to express this. I mean, and also you've got moves that lend you towards doing one thing or the other, but this is the bots coming and being shredded by the super Newman force kind of thing, or at least that's what it's set up for. What do you think? Directly engage?
well, it's all the same move when I've got Phoenix anyway, so it's all
Oh, it's all kind of. What do you roll for it then?
Superior.
Okay. All right. So you kind of get out there, and are you in like?
What? Yeah. Once the bots arrive, Leo's going to hop back in the cockpit this entire jet is going to transform into a very angry looking bird and is going to start tearing through these things.
So, yeah, you're doing this thing and you landing and shouting and doing all this kind of stuff. And we get kind of a shot of, it should probably be somebody looking at, somebody looking at a security screen, like a big screen that's been switched over to like sort of a video playback kind of thing. But I like it better with them, this person kind of looking down through a window from like a high rise, like a skyscraper kind of a thing, looking down, and send in security, and the bots just come swarming out of everywhere. And we're doing, what are we rolling? Go ahead and roll your superior, and we'll see how that goes. Oh God, seriously? You box card it?
Yep.
Oh my God. All right. So okay. It's crazy. That is crazy. I feel like I want to do the directly engage, if only because it has a more interesting knock-on effect in that you've got options to select from. 15. Good grief. So let's go with immediately. I'm just going to say resist or avoid their blows, but what else? I mean, impress, surprise, or frighten?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So we're really getting this shot more like sort of over the shoulder of this older. I'm picturing like the Elric brothers' father from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, kind of looking guy, looking down over this stuff, and kind of frowning and looking annoyed, and says, security, and the bots come swarming. All these Rook bots come swarming out, and then the comment as you sort of jump back into the plane and it transforms in this great big bot. There's sort of a snide like, oh look, he made an even bigger power suit. How terrifying. What then, as we cut back to the actual action, do we see? What happens?
So these are basically just flying humanoid security robots.
Yeah, they're the Rook bots with 20 more years of, they got the cool carbon skin from Overwatch now, so they're they look a little bit cooler. But that's they're Rook bots. You recognize them.
Okay.
They're awesome Rook bots.
So they're going to do what normally works for these situations, and that is swarm tactics. They're going to try to jump on this machine, go for joints, go for exposed areas, try to drill in or grab at vital parts or power connections or whatever, because this is always how you defeat robots. The problem is that the Phoenix has 3 different flight systems, all of which are highly incendiary or otherwise destructive, and it's using them all. It's got literal rockets across a variety of surfaces, and so bots that are coming in at the wrong angle just get roasted. It's got the same thruster system that the girls have, so these bots are like literally being knocked away by this propulsive force. And this thing is not staying stable. It's got transformative capabilities across almost its entire surface, and it's just moving in ways that like a conventional vehicle just can't do. Like you've seen like control surfaces for aircraft. Imagine that times 1,000. There's nowhere to grab. It's not covered. They can't get a grip, or robots will reach into an exposed space and just have their arms crushed and torn off as that space suddenly closes. It's a very chaotic environment, and so they're basically they're coming in to be crunched up and ground into metal, which then falls to the city below.
So it's just raining down robot bits. As we
and in the bottom right hand corner of Leo's HUD, there's a little damage sign in dollars that just keeps rising. It's like
I love that. Oh,
That's not serious, but I would love to see that.
I mean, yeah, I don't mind it. It's fine for me. And also thanks to Harry for finding me exactly the picture I was thinking of, or at least a very, if not exactly the one I was thinking of, a great expression of exactly sort of how I'm picturing old Jason. So we're close enough. So
It beats Biff.
it does. It generally it definitely beats Biff. All right, so that's happening, and you actually see the corners of his mouth kind of draw down as this is not going the way he had expected. And I feel like, you know what? I don't think I was going to go with the provoke, but given that you got such a roll, and one of them was the impress, surprise, or frighten the opposition, I think that we just let that stand as essentially working as the provoke. So you see this guy turn away. We see this guy turn away from the window and start walking, and his suit kind of morphs into a power armor or a bodysuit kind of thing, somewhat reminiscent of sort of an evolved version of what Jason came up with when he was visiting the Supiaverse. And some blinking lights kind of, and buttons, or at least some sort of tactile interface on the sleeve, and he taps a couple of those, and we see some stuff. We cut to another room where some lights are coming up and some stuff is sort of activating and stuff like that. He probably says something like "call the others" or something along those lines. So that's happening. The bots are coming. The dollars. Even if Jason isn't actually seeing the dollar signs cutting up, we might have like a running tally of like Rook/Quill material losses just running in the tally window in the side panels of the various comic panels as more of these guys are dying. I think the bots are going down. Concord, what are you doing? Are you waiting until these guys kind of mix it up, or?
Yeah, I think right now Concord's like sitting on like a rooftop nearby, just sort of like watching from a distance. Or it's like, well, he got their attention, but he looks like he's dealing.
Yeah.
Everything's working well with Phoenix right now, so.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like eyes up to the sky. It's like, okay, where does everybody else get here?
It's kind of like you can see the Phoenix silhouette in the sky in the distance, and like these sort of swarms of bots coming in like murmurs of starlings, spiraling in towards this thing, and then like sort of a straight line of the chaff like falling to the ground underneath. It looks terribly impressive as far as a force being brought against them, and doesn't seem to be doing anything. Okay. So, Link, you're reading on sensors. Otto calls it out. And Arya, I'm going to say Arya is along too, since this is kind of like potentially pretty dangerous. You're getting like some kind of, definitely some activity coming in, some more slow moving stuff, and a few faster moving things. some kind of not ships or vehicle. Well, one of them's definitely reading like a vehicle. The rest of it seems to be sort of you know, you can area kind of shrugs. It's like we've got some kind of supers coming in, basically. That's just how it reads. So are you staying in Phoenix for this bit, or what are you doing? And
yeah, we're gonna stay in for right now.
Okay. All right. So what comes into view kind of in this big, you know, opens, well, actually, it's probably, did you say you were just going to kind of sit on the roof of the old Quill building, the original Quill building? Was that the idea?
Probably hovering in front of it, but yeah, somewhere real nearby.
Okay. All right.
The roof is probably visible at some point.
So the river kind of runs through that area, past that point. So you could be like really kind of over the water and just kind of away from the landmass or anything like that. What you've got, and you're kind of surprised at this, honestly, but so you've got, if not Facet, then somebody who looks like they're wearing sort of like the Facet tech. But it's been more militarized. It's been more certainly polished. That's terrible. Developed, re-engineered, that kind of thing. And it's also a little bit more disturbing because if you remember, like the Facet, I'm not going to pull up the image right now, but Facet kind of had some. She had definitely done some sort of cybernetic augments to her body to kind of embed the tech to, you know, as a proof of concept. This person, whoever they happen to be, is more embedded tech than person. Like the face is kind of it. Honestly, if you took Howl from
machine than man.
Well, yeah,
and evil.
If you take Howl from Howl's Moving Castle when he's mostly bird and you can just kind of see the human face, and then make all the feathers crystals, it's kind of like that. Not so bulky, but kind of like that in terms of like how much of the visible humanity is left. The rest of it's just sort of human form. That's kind of flanking on one side. On the other, or in the center, is unbelievably looks like it's an older guy. At the picture that James shared up certainly works really well for how the guy kind of appears, kind of in body armor, and still in one of those damned floating discs. I mean, you can't even imagine why he would think that would be a good idea, but you know, perfectly just and kind of floating there, looking up at this great big thing. He shows up in the stupid looking like inflatable child's pool of a flying disc.
A classic.
Damn it, Jason. And on the right of him is, I mean, just for the sake of just briefness, Sable Star. Like, you know, girl, female, looks exactly the same way as you, Leo, you remember from a couple of months ago, really. There's no real physical change at all. Starry cloak. Doesn't have the sword out, you know, any kind of, you know, weapon out or anything like that. It's just kind of hanging there. And you think maybe it's kind of hard to tell if this is maybe smirking. So that's what you see sort of arrayed there against you. And Quill looks up and is like, well, that was a very very impressive display. I'm a little surprised that you got your nerve up to show yourself in public. But this isn't going to go any differently than any other time or with any or the way it has for anyone else. You understand?
Yeah, it's going to go the same as always, because I always win.
Really? They kind of like... Actually, what would he do? Because he wouldn't really find this amusing, and he wouldn't find the bravado. So yeah, really, honestly, the frown just kind of kind of deepens. So, okay.
God, he's gone evil and humorless.
So he's going to. He doesn't even really. It doesn't really seem as though he sort of makes a motion or anything like that. He kind of looks down a bit and slightly to the left, like just. It's not even a glance. It's like half a glance in the general direction of Facet, and they come. You know. No, they don't even really like have to move in. They're just they kind of like their arms come up and kind of they clasp their hands together in the middle, and the crystals on either arm kind of like fold over each other to make sort of like a big. Yeah, it looks they kind of it almost looks like a sped up. You know, the little science project of the crystals growing kind of thing, and they kind of meld into each other and get really, really bright, like, you know, powering up for a blast kind of bright. What do you do? They're 50, call it 100 yards away.
Basically, we've seen this kind of attack before, like Concord got hit with it.
Sure, yeah.
So
This
at the
is
last moment,
better. It's better than it used to be, but yeah, for sure.
So Leo's going to time it, and at the last moment, Phoenix, Arya, Leo, and Otto are all going to split apart in 4 directions, and the blast can go between them.
Right. Hey, Bill, do you mind if I jump in here then?
I would say go for it.
All right.
This is actually the opponent you fought more than I did. So
yeah, because I think, you know, blast, you know, right when the blast goes off, that's when Concord kind of like drops one of the big shields right in front of it to sort of just like dissipate the blast and probably just sort of plop in right behind it.
This is one of your burn moves, right?
No, this is straight up defend.
Straight up defend? All right.
Because I have that savior that I've never gotten to roll.
Since you locked it at 3?
Uh-huh.
I love it. All right, give me a defend roll and let's see how it goes.
All right.
That is a full hit. I am very happy about that full hit. All right, defend. When you defend something, someone from immediate threat, savior. On a
hit, you keep them safe and choose one.
Yeah.
10 plus, I don't expose myself to danger or escalate the situation. So we're gonna throw some team into the pool.
Yep.
I think you definitely changed the situation.
Yeah, it's like I think that's where, you know, Concord's just like, hey Jason, I heard you turned into an asshole.
I love it. That's so funny. So yeah, the big. Go ahead.
Oh, just on that note, after you say that, are we entering battle against a dangerous foe as a team, even though it's not the full team?
I think so. And the team will be kind of on both sides. So that, yeah, you know, let's just see where we all are on this thing. So yes, let's do that thing, because I'm going to actually kind of ask, because you guys are going to be going into, both sides are going to be kind of going into some stuff real quick here. So, alrighty. When you enter battle against a dangerous foe as a team, add 2 team to the pool. All right, that's 2. If the leader has influence over every teammate, add another team. Who is the leader?
For which one?
I mean, take your
Charlotte.
pick.
Because I think Charlotte's on the Sepiaverse side, and it's probably Link on our side.
Yeah. Well, Link having influence isn't even a question. Right now, and I forgot a step here. Right now, Charlotte does not have influence over Mercury because she has to give that up to hand off the condition. Right? Yes. Which I will. Which that's the you have to use your influence to inflict a condition on the other person, and you burn it to do that. I forgot about doing that, which I took it down. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to just. I think I'm as much as I might like to just treat it as one big fight. I'm not gonna do that because it's weird and we have different leaders. So let's just worry about the Halcyon team for the moment. If leaders influence over your teammate, add another team. Yes. If everyone has the same purpose in the fight, add another team. What's the purpose? We're gonna focus just on Link and Adam right now.
Distraction, cause mayhem.
Punch Jason in the face.
Punch Jason in the face.
Pretty much, yeah. Neutralize the forces on this side of on the rift so that we can close it.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's same side, same purpose there. Adam, do you mistrust the leader or the team?
No.
I didn't think so. And you're definitely not ill prepared or off balance. So that's 4. I think that's 4.
Mhm.
Fair enough.
I don't know if this is how you want to handle it, Dois.
Yes.
But you could just move those 4 team points over to Bill. And then whatever
Yeah.
team points Margie's
That
side
is a
gets,
good
move
idea.
them to Margie.
So the 5 will sit for anybody, and then you guys will have these other little sub pools. It's a bit of a hack, but I like it. We haven't ever had a reason to hack this game too much, so that's okay. I'm just gonna go 2. On the CPVerse side, everyone has the same purpose in the fight. I think the whole purpose over there is to bring down the. Unless somebody has some secret goal, I think the purpose over there is to get the wound is to get the wound closed one way or the other by hook or by crook. Is that fair?
Yep.
I think Charlotte. What
Yes.
about for Harry?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one more. And Alicia, do you mistrust Charlotte or the team?
No.
You like how
Not-
you like how I asked the most mistrusty person first because it saves me so much time in one way or the other. Harry,
No,
what?
I'm cool. I'm cool with Harry and Charlotte at least.
Uh,
And
Harry, do you mistrust the leader of the team?
Kind of.
That's fair.
well, you did just scare me.
Well,
You did just scare him to death.
because
There's a difference between mistrust. Now, I'm not saying that I don't agree with you, but I want to make sure that we've got clarity between mistrusting the leader of the team and the plan, which is potentially a slightly different thing. But if the answer is yes, the answer is yes. That's totally fine.
I think that I don't know, because Harry is definitely afraid of Charlotte right now and very concerned.
Okay.
Future Harry's words just keep echoing in his head.
You have serious doubts, and that's exactly what this is about. All right, so that still ends up with 2 points, and the other 5 points that are floating there, anybody can grab from, and that's okay. All right, so we have the big blast comes out, and it is stopped by a big wall of scintillating rainbow-like energy. And the Sablestar doesn't say anything that's words. It's just a wordless kind of it's not a what even. It's just a shock.
Damn it, Jason.
Yeah. And then Concord kind of floats down into frame, kind of slightly in front of, but just very slightly in front of, but just to the side of Phoenix. It's like, hey, Jason, I heard you turned into an evil asshole. And the eyes kind of go wide, that were wide for a second, seeing the shield kind of narrow. Again, because that seems to be their main move. And we will cut over to the CPVerse folks who are closing. I guess are you just moving at best group speed toward the supercell thing? Is that, and I'm about to ask, and while that's happening, what are you also doing? Because that's the next question.
So is the supercell over?
No, it's not over the city.
Okay.
It's off to the side of the city. It's not.
Why would we be going towards the supercell then, as opposed to going over to the graveyard where the wound is that we're trying to close?
Well, actually, that's a good question. My assumption, the reason I was saying that you were headed that way, is because you guys need the ghost power to close the wound, and the ghosts are all there. But they're not so very far from the city, given their size. They're really kind of at the city limits kind of thing. They're not so very far, given their size, that you need to go. I mean, they're big. It's big. It's big enough that you can probably somehow access the power no matter where you are, if you're kind of within, close, relatively close to the thing. And it's so big, close is really, that's a scalable thing. So, I don't know, Charlotte. Do you feel as though you need to go there and address a thing, or are you just gonna let's get to the wound and we'll figure out what that, how to access that swirling ball of craziness once we get there? Or are you going to the swirling ball of craziness?
My problem with this has always been that, destroy the ghosts in the process.
Right.
So it's not a matter of just tapping into them to fuel this if that's going to permanently damage them.
Right.
So
And
that's sort of what we've been sort of going back and forth on this. Is it's not like I'm just going to tap into them for this.
right.
So I feel like I probably need to talk to the other Charlotte. The non-ghosts need to be there.
You
To be there.
they don't, or they do? You broke up a bit there. The non-ghosts do or don't need to be there, or they just would be?
Need to be there.
Need to be there? Okay.
Do not.
The do not. I'm sorry. I keep losing the first word. Honestly, not to go back to the previous conversation, I don't know that the voice dropping is as much a function of a Chromebook as it is of the web app. I have less faith in the web app than I do. If the web app were the leader in a fight, I would not trust the team or the leader. Anyway, what was I going to say? I don't remember. All right, so Charlotte says, I need to go and talk to myself. You don't need to come. You could go into the city and
What it looks like on this side.
yeah, find out what it looks like on this side.
You mean where the dads might be?
No, the dads were up in Washington D.C. We're in house.
Yeah, they wouldn't.
Oh.
They wouldn't likely be around
This
here.
Alicia keeps saying to herself, "Dad was up in Washington D.C., not in Halcyon. Father was up in Washington D.C., not in Halcyon."
So there's certainly that.
Unless he's a ghost now, in which case.
So there is that. I mean, there may be some sort of defenses there. Rook might have put something on this side. Maybe that could be addressed.
That sounds like a challenge that we're capable of taking on.
Okay, that's Alicia's take on things, and she's pretty okay with that. Harry, what do you think? Go with Charlotte or go into the city?
There is a part of Harry that wants to go with Charlotte just to be up close to where his future self was so freaked out by.
Yeah.
But also,
The opposite
that's a very
of
tiny part.
that. Well, yeah, I mean, it's tiny, but how powerful is it? I mean, which does he go with there? Because Charlotte, you're saying you guys don't need to come with me, but in your secret heart of hearts, how much do you hope that somebody does come with you?
I'm serious. I actually think they might be safer here. I'm actually.
I think that kind of goes without saying. That still doesn't mean that you wouldn't want them to come along.
I think that Harry will go with Charlotte, despite being freaked out beyond any horror movie. Kind of for his, for other Mercury.
I see. Okay, I get that. Now I gotta tell you, for the record, JC's going wherever Charlotte's going. So,
Oh,
which is because that's just her job is to be where you are to do stuff with you. This whole thing is the whole point of this is to bring the wound down. You can do that. So if she needs to be where you are to make sure that you can get that job done, which is fine. I actually kind of like that because it leaves Alicia going, I will deal with the mundane threat. Like I will take out all of these. Oh, please let there be Rook security guards stationed throughout the ruins of a destroyed city. It's like Kosovo all over again, you know.
We remember Budapest.
Yeah, we remember Budapest very differently. It's just like the CP versus Halcyon City. Yeah, we remember that very differently.
Fine. I'll go into Halcyon City and clear the way.
Yeah, I'm just
You
gonna.
go have your cat.
All right. Charlotte, any protest, any serious protest you're going to lay down in front of these guys saying, no, damn it, go there. I will take care of this. Because you can. You absolutely have that ability. How hard do you push? I guess is really what I'm saying. I'm not hearing you.
She
I'm not talking.
Okay, I heard an I heard an
I
heard an
just said, damn.
I mean, this is a perfectly legitimate situation where you can like say, you know, no, this is blah 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 blah, and go for the provoke. It may not actually do anything, but you know, if you feel like you're pushing that hard, then it can certainly establish your bona fides with, you know, what you're really looking for. I can't remember exactly how it works when you're provoking on a PC, but it's I mean, it's definitely in there if you really want to convince Harry.
No, I will let them come with me, but I'm going to make them promise to things get violent.
To get out if things get violent. All right. Yeah, the provoke on PCs is if you get a 10, you get to choose both of these options. On 7 and 9, you choose one or the other, and the two options when you're trying to provoke a PC, if they do it, add team to the pool. If they don't do it, they take a condition. So it's you can still ignore it, you know, that kind of stuff. I kind of like that because like you can always, I like it because you can always still do whatever you want to do. It's just a question of whether or not how strongly you feel about it. Which is kind of how the mind control stuff that I wrote up is written the same way too. Okay, so after a bit of like meaningful, serious looks, 3 of them head out that direction. JC sort of steps in close to Charlotte and she sort of whoops some more. Harry races off, you know, gives Alicia like one more look and races off, and Alicia kind of turns and looks at the destroyed city and fine. Fine. I think. Wait. Let me look at that. Oh boy. I need to look at Alicia's thing here.
Uh-oh.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Well, it's a bit of an overwhelming situation, a little bit, because there's a lot that could potentially go on in here. And Jason's not going to be, or Jason, Dave might not be best pleased by the maneuver I think best reflects this thing either. So that'll be fun too. Okay, so as you're so Charlotte, you can basically put yourself sort of directly under this thing with your port. And Eric can get up to you pretty quick. What do you do? What do you what? Yeah, I don't know how to phrase it another way. When you get to this thing, under this thing, what do you do?
So the other Mercury describes something like, a giant Alicia in the middle of it. Is there, or giant Charlotte? Sorry, Alicia.
Damn it, Jason.
Is there anything that is conglomeration of spirits?
Is there anything that I lost you for a second. Is there anything that is what giant?
Things separate from the conglomeration of spirits.
I think you need to assess the situation. Give me just 1 second here. My daughter has a question, but I think you need to assess the situation probably.
Oh, we're starting off great. Later, right?
Damn it, Leo.
What?
Where do they go?
You took all of the good points with your 15.
That's not true. That's not true at all.
Damn it, Concord.
Those are 3 perfectly good points right there.
All right. You here now? Okay. Sorry. Had to do a little tech support for my daughter there. Okay, so I missed whatever the roll was. Let me come back here. What's going on? What happened? What happened? What happened?
We're giving Leo grief about stealing all of the luck.
Ooh. Yeah, that's not good. But that's okay. That's actually okay.
It's fine. We're perfectly safe. Let's fly up into the coast.
No. So assess the situation. Roll superior on a 10 plus estimate of the thing and a thing. All right. Well, this is just about as obvious as it possibly can be. So you kind of sort of extend your senses and go looking for yourself or some aspect of yourself or some version of yourself in amongst this. And there, I mean, needle in a million haystacks to a certain extent, or at least that's what you expect. And as you're extending your senses out, you come to the horrifying conclusion, realization, not even conclusion, the horrifying realization that three things. Charlotte isn't there. That's point 1. Point 2, it's all Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
Point 3, Ghost Heart was absolutely right without understanding any of what he was saying about Charlotte's abilities bringing pandemonium to the world. And take a powerful blow. Let's see how we ride that tiger out. Ooh, okay. Okay. So we're kind of in the same sort of situation again with that 8, where you're looking at some option that lands you there in the middle. You give ground, your opposition gets an opportunity. Take advantage of your influence to inflict a condition on when you're well, that's kind of off the table at this point because none of your people who you have influence over right here. Or you take 2 conditions. Giving ground, giving your opponents an opportunity is certainly, I mean, I understand what that looks like at this point right here. So that's certainly an option that's quick and straightforward. So is the condition thing, because it's like, you know, dawning horror, blah 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 blah. We can easily work our way down through what those conditions look like as you're basically standing beneath Pandemonium, Charlotte, Ghost that destroyed Charlotte, or Aether, or all of these three things.
Okay.
None of those 3 things. You don't quite understand it, maybe. So if you give ground before that and give that thing an opportunity, I know what that looks like.
Not my plan because I have to take care of these other stupid people who came with me. So.
But they can take care
I
of
was
you.
looking-
No.
Myself, but it's another to.
It's okay. They're running at
Big
hypersonic speed to the horizon.
Only one of them. JC is right there. So if you give them an opportunity, it's just really kind of an opening for them to, you know, come in here and they get to throw some dice around too.
Okay, so I think I'm going to take 2 conditions.
Okay. How does this hit you? I mean, what's the? God.
It's.
Damn it, Mike. Anyway. So it's what? What kind of conditions are we looking at?
I think the first one is guilty, obviously.
Okay.
That you know. That this is that my other I might be somehow responsible for this guilt that I brought these people here.
Put them in this situation.
Yep.
Right. There's so many contradictions in this situation that it's hard to even parse out. So guilty is the one of them. What's the other thing? And then we'll get into some more of this.
Other one is actually angry.
Ooh, I like it. I like it.
Why I'm here is to make things right and to, you know, to avenge, you know, these wounds and the damage that they have done. And I'm just pissed as hell that I have to deal with whatever this is to make that happen.
Right. It is a whirl of contradictions swirling above you in the same way that the thing is spinning and whirling. It's just the same kind of disorienting, contradictory information because Charlotte is there. They're only brought together and really at some level bound into this mass because of Charlotte's will. So obviously she's still there in some capacity because it's that will that's bringing it all together, right? But there's no consciousness to it anymore. It's just the will. It's a dog who, while attacked, bites, and having bit, simply keeps its jaws clenched on whatever it got into its mouth and is unable, honestly, to understand the idea of letting go because it's overwhelmed by all of the emotions or whatever that's got going on, and it simply locks on and can't release because of everything that's happening. So you've just got this last raw command of bite, or in this case, hold. So it's both the will is there, and yet the cognizance isn't. And as a
Whirling
result,
somehow.
which isn't to say there is no cognizance, but it's really because of all of these things together. It's a combination of Charlotte's will, Charlotte's presence, her personality, but also all the possibilities of these other things. It makes it this chaotic, million-souled thing that is both unified in its will to stay together and lacking any other directive, motive power, direction. Yeah. There's no
Direction, that's for sure.
There's nothing. There's no motive power behind the thing except to simply be. Because
It's going to make the move I had planned a little bit more challenging.
well, what's the movie you had planned? Talk to me about that. What were you thinking?
World,
Say that again.
where world. So it's the first world. It's the first of my moves. It's
Okay.
you can commune with other departed ghosts whenever you contact the unseen world, to, do things.
When you contact the unseen realm, Rose Superior, on templates hold 3, make a comfortable demand. Superior will receive a curse or spiritual opponent will allow you to use any ability from another opponent. Okay. Consult the memories of the departed to ask a question about the current situation. No, that is actually
What I'm going for is, is that spiritually potent item.
although honestly, consulting the memories of the departed to ask a question about the current situation could also be super useful at this point, simply to kind of understand what happened.
I mean, so basically my goal right now is to give this mass direction, right?
Okay.
Since it seems to be, they're held together and they're there with the purpose of staying together, and that actually suits our purpose fine in terms of, trying to use them to heal the wound.
You're right.
And it's just a matter of, connecting that.
Yeah, no, I think it's good.
That swirl with the purpose.
It's a risky move because it's superior. And your superior it's not bad, but it's not one of your strong ones. It's not danger, thank God. But you've got people here who can help you, and hopefully you're within, you're not, I mean, the 3, you're far enough away from it. It was bad enough you couldn't fix it anyway. So it's just a matter of seeing what you can do. I think it's the right move in this situation. And honestly, you might even end up with getting one of those things even on the 6, just depending on whatever else we do. So we'll just see how we go. So yeah, why don't you give me that roll and then we'll see where we're going. Then we're going to jump to somebody. See what we got. I like it. And you can actually just click the dice next to the move and it'll roll the appropriate label. Although I want to make sure it doesn't give you the penalty. But anyway.
Which is what it should be.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and roll. We'll see how it goes. And that is okay. So you've got just enough on that. Also, remember to take a potential from that other 3 that you rolled. You've got just enough where JC and Harry can help you establish this connection, this communing thing. JC's thing is really pretty straightforward. She's kind of on your left, and her sword is in her left hand, and she puts her other hand on your right hand on your shoulder, and it makes contact, which is weird. Just as though you're solid. She doesn't even seem to notice that that's happening. I'm here for the mission. I know you can get us to that point. And if this is part of that, then I know you can do this too. That's what knights are here for, is to help this happen. It will happen. She doesn't actually, you realize, maybe later, she never actually said any of that. Didn't even open her mouth, but she said it, or that's what you heard, or something.
She's a Grail Knight.
She's a Grail Knight. They're weird. It's weird. So says Adam. Harry, in what way do you reject your older self to help Charlotte? Because you feel everything he felt in this situation. You get it. You get his, I am going to run so fast that I'm going to go back to another world strictly for the purposes of getting and clutching a giant gun like it's a security blanket. Not because I think it will beat this thing, because it's the only stupid thing I think that can make me feel better. You get it right down to the ground, standing underneath this thing. What do you do? What do you say? How do you act that rejects that?
I think of the times that I had with Charlotte on the team and everything.
Give me two of those. Give me two little snapshot moments. One of them must include a bag of chips.
The interview, when the ponies were interviewing us.
Oh yeah.
And oh shoot, just had it. When we were dealing with Ghost Heart.
And you guys were kind of actually ended up joined at that point in time. Okay. All right. So when Harry, do you like reach out and put your hand on his shoulder or anything like that? Or yeah, same kind of thing.
Yeah.
So Charlotte, you actually become solid. It was weird you weren't when JC touched you. But when both of them did, you're actually solid. You don't get words from Harry. You get these images and a bunch of other ones that we're not going to take the time to actually get through. But you're seeing all these bonds that you've created, that you somehow in all this mess, it's all part of the danger of this situation, but at the same time, it's also where the strength is coming from. And that gets you up to that'll push you from the 5 to the 7, those two guys helping you out. And just for the sake of doing it, we'll take those right out of the other, we'll take that out of that same pool right there. So you get to do 2. That's so weird that it did that.
I get 2 holds.
You get 2 holds, so you can do 2 of those things there. So the spiritually potent item can certainly be one of those things.
Can hold, but I think the first hold has to be, knowledge of the current situation.
Okay. Yeah, that's really good.
People's knowledge to ask them a question of the current situation.
Okay, very cool. I'm gonna come back to that in just a sec. Or, well, probably not just a sec, but as quick as I can. Alicia, I'm going to ask you, because what you're doing in this situation, as I see it, and tell me otherwise, if you just want to have shots of you individually punching people, that's fine too. We can do it that way. But what I'm looking at is you fundamentally changing the environment around that wound in the city by getting rid of the defensive stuff. All of whatever little booby traps or interferences or whatever the Q Rook conglomeration, whatever, has erected in there, you're going to be taking those things apart. And for me, that's reshaping the environment or unleashing your powers. I can see that it's a freak, and I know that sucks for you, but
that's the mission. I mean,
that is what it
is. I need to clear the way so that when these guys come back, we can do this stuff.
Right.
And right now, that's what I can do.
And it may be that it's just a ton, and it's horrifying and terrible, and it's just a crap ton of it, and it goes badly. That is what it is. It just tells us what comes next. So I am going to ask you to unleash your powers.
Unleash my powers.
Roll free. Unless you
unless
you have a weird thing that flips freak for any of this, but
Oh, wait a second.
Do you?
Yes, I do, because I can do gadgets.
Oh.
Because when I do gadgets, when I unleash my powers by producing a brand new minor invention or gadget for my supply, and I did have an opportunity after
you grabbed all that stuff.
So I've made one gadget, but since then I've picked up some other. So I'm still at 2 gadgetry.
What is that? What is that move? Is it not
Always
added on
prepared.
On the right
It
character
is
sheet?
a who's that?
Is it not on the character sheet right now?
It's the first one I've got on my active moves. It's
active moves. Sorry, my bad. I was down passive. I was down too far. I hold 2 gadgets when I unleash my powers by producing a brand new minor invention or gadget for my supply. Spend 1 gadget and roll plus superior. When I read 1 gadget, when I reach 0 gadgets, mark a condition. So that'll be happening.
Yes.
But what I am demanding that you not do is say, well, I'm rolling superior, so this should be fine. Because every time you say that, it's horrifying. It's horrifying.
You're better off doing freak.
Yeah, honestly, I'd rather you roll freak with huge amounts of doubt in your heart than roll superior and go, well, I got this, because that has never gone well for you. So, in this case,
for what it's worth, my superiors knocked down a tick by still feeling guilty. So,
more than a tick.
But yeah. So one of the things I will do is I've got one of the a gadget that I put together was this little.
You don't have to take that penalty on the guilty.
I don't.
Well,
because it's a -2 to provoke somebody and assess the situation, not
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, the condition is on moves, not on label.
It's not a.
I guess so. I guess you're right.
Yeah,
it's.
If you were, because what you're doing is unleashing.
No, I hear what you're. Okay, I hear what you're saying. So
it's not a blanket penalty on savior. It's more of a blanket on the action. What you are doing is unleashing your powers, which is.
Since I don't.
And you're not hopeless.
Since I don't have hopeless, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So you roll superior, but you also throw in like a you can click on your superior. It will give you the penalty because this sheet is coded well, but not up to that point. And when it asks you for any temporary modifiers, give it a plus +2. The penalty is a minus. It's going to hit you with is a -2. So give it a +2, and that will counteract. That will counteract all that. And the net thing should be a +3. Anyway, you were saying though.
So the so what I've done is I've brought along a small gadget I put together that's basically a little mini drone to help
scout ahead and
scout ahead and spot these things that might otherwise spot me before I spot them.
Very nice. I love it. So yeah, which perfect because it lets you use your superior. It lets you use your superior.
Lets me unleash my powers using superior.
Yeah, which is great because superior is exactly what you'd be doing and going in there with all that kind of stuff. So in this case, roll superior, but do your extra +2 to balance that out. It took me a while to get used to that. Mike had to convince me the first time that I wouldn't be taking the penalty.
I don't know if that's going to be the case with active moves, but go ahead and roll it.
Well, the way it's written, the way the conditions are written is it's a -2 to a specific type of move.
Right, but I don't know if the penalty actually occurs when it's based off of your active move or not.
Well, he's not rolling the move. He's like clicking superior, and the way these sheets are coded is
if he's clicking superior, that's entirely different.
The way these sheets are coded.
Oh, I didn't even think about. I guess I could do it against. I guess I could click the active move.
That's what you should be doing.
Superior.
Yeah,
you're right.
We've never done. I've been terrible. We've never done it. But go ahead and just click that and see what happens. If it gives you the -2, we'll just tweak it. because it should be whatever you roll plus 3, which is exactly what you got. So
That's
yes,
exactly what I got.
that.
Woohoo!
Hey, look, this sheet is smarter than we thought, or at least smarter than me, which is actually probably easier. Okay, so
a hit, a palpable hit.
a hit, a palpable hit. That does unleash your powers. So, and because this is you getting to gadgets 0, right? So you're going to take a condition from this?
No.
No, you still have a gadget left?
I've had an opportunity to restock stuff.
Okay, so you're not at
So I
gadget 0.
used one to build my interdimensional widget.
Yep.
But that was like, in the middle of last episode.
And
I had an opportunity to restock after that, so that took me back up to 2.
And we were
This will take me
specifically
down to 1.
narratively talking about you grabbing
Actually,
stuff.
we did. So
Grabbing
I
stuff
hadn't
base.
thought about it in those terms at the time. But
Sure.
Yes.
But you got the stuff. All right, so when you unleash your powers, on a hit, you do it on a 7 to 9, which is what you got. Either mark a condition, or I will tell you how the effect is unstable or temporary, which is to say you've disabled them, but you're on the clock kind of thing.
We're on the clock. They're going to start rebuilding, or an alarm will
Or
go off.
they'll retreat, reassess, and come back at whatever. Or you end up with a condition from everything that you're doing.
You know what? I discovered I'm going to take angry again. Son of a bitch.
It's a very
That's
Leo
right.
thing.
Leave Alicia to undo all the little traps while we're off soireeing and probably having frickin' tea with the frickin' ghosts.
That's awesome. That's
Damn it,
awesome.
Jason.
All right, damn it, Jason. Somewhere he's getting like these horrible like spinal pains.
Why do you
like
keep putting coins in this jar? I don't understand.
they just keep appearing randomly.
So Joyce, you know that's actually
Yeah, Dave mentioned
been incorporated into our family dialogue.
Well, to be fair, I've actually had my wife, who does not play this game, and I have not told stories about this game to for a solid couple of months, occasionally say to me, "Not now, Jason, you're be ridiculous." So anyway, all right. So
And now it's our response to Dave making bad puns. So yeah.
So there is a mix
That is
of
Jason.
automated defense systems, booby traps. Are there any live forces? Maybe there's a few that are like on sort of maintenance and monitoring mode or something like that, but they're, those are the ones that really could make your life difficult if they realize you're there, so you get them first. But yeah, between like basically a couple of like sort of spotter bots, I'm thinking of what was it? The Seventh Sister from the Rebels, or honestly, what are this little science couple from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Oh,
Fitzsimmons.
Fitzsimmons.
Fitzsimmons, kind of like the little drones thing or something like that, but quicker than that. Anyway, so
Like clear the defenses and move on.
they clear the defenses and move on. Yeah, so that's what you're doing there. And we're going to quickly jump back over to the other world. I swear I thought I was going to get through this. I'm going to blame some of this on spilling soda all over my keyboard. Not getting through this because we're actually right to the big thing that I thought we were going to actually get done with, and we're not going to get done with it. Over in the future Halcyon, the blast is absorbed. Hey, Jason, I heard you were an asshole, evil asshole now, right? Was that right? I think that was what he said.
Yep.
Sable Star actually clasps her hands together and says, "You came back!" But it doesn't sound nearly as nice as it probably should. And Jason takes a step, kind of steps back into the center of the disc and extends his hands out kind of to the side And the nanobots, they don't pour off of him, but they pour down from him onto the floor, or something, and like sort of synchronize with this thing. And the whole sodding thing morphs and kind of folds up and around him like a big black ball.
Damn it, Jason.
And then, like, while it's hovering there, legs kind of extend out of it, like the
Oh God.
like leg.
I'm wearing the shirt.
You're wearing what shirt are you wearing?
Never mind. Go ahead.
Legs kind of extend out of it, and it gets kind of like, it's not an eye, but it's like a big sensor pod kind of thing on the front of it, like some of the nanobots shift mode.
He
So
is wearing the shirt.
what shirt? You have to
The
link.
nanobot shirt.
Image.
Dave is
I
wearing.
put it in the image.
Okay, I gotta
Oh,
look.
that shirt.
Okay, yes, but worse, because it's that, except, hang on, yeah.
Thank you. So that's how Jason goes evil. He starts, using evil tech, and it corrupts him.
There we go. Yep. Get it back over. Let's see how far ahead of you guys are. You're already pasting a bunch of stuff. Oh, come on. Sorry, with this keyboard, I had to cobble together a keyboard, so I have copy paste issues. Paste, there we go. So what you linked, except that in scale, sort of. Whoa, well, except that was a very tiny picture. I wasn't expecting it to be so small. You get the idea. Yes? So yeah, the Omnibot sort of thing from Incredibles, plus yeah, totally Quill tech combined with nanotech, combined with chin stuff, combined with probably Rook tech, which we'll throw in the Omnibot, is make it bigger. So
Combined with stupid Jason.
So the legs aren't like robotic. They're like the really, we've kind of gone into where the bots, the disc itself is sort of nanites, except not nanites. It's really more like the microbots from Big Hero 6 kind of size. So you get those things and stuff like that. So he kind of retracts into that. Star Sapphire claps her hands together. It's like, you came back, like sort of a Harley Quinn kind of thing. And then the sword kind of erupts out of where her hands are at, like between her two hands, like she's like, she clasps her hands together and then is holding the sword. We'll stop there with that. Alicia is taking out all the stuff in the city, and we go back to Charlotte and Harry and JC, and you, Harry, you will know this stuff because you guys are kind of, I don't want to say linked, mind melded, whatever. You're getting the sense history here. What you're seeing is Charlotte is a flash by flash summary of probably the last, we'll call it, hand wave it and call it the last 10 years here on this side of in this part of the world. After you realized that the other world existed when you first went across, and you realized the direction that things were going in Halcyon with Jason and Rook and everything like that, that these things had to be taken down, and also how much the other world was suffering from the way that it had been really robbed, and that there was some small hope there that, for all the damage that they had done, the Veritobians had managed to get a couple of Kenomes over back into their world and give them some kind of survivability, chance of survivability, whatever. You came to, you went through the Sepiaverse thinking, I can fix this, and I can fix it from here, and that keeps me from having to deal with all of their idiocy on the other side. And what the things that you had done, the damage that had been done in the cemetery in Halcyon, when you made contact with the spirits in the Sepiaverse side, and you were kind of like investigating all these wounds, that kind of thing, they knew about it. They knew that something horrible had happened that had like expanded the wound and made it worse, and that it was, sucking, that something bad was happening. They didn't really understand it, but they knew about it even over in this other world. You came over time to understand that as far as these spirits are concerned, there aren't multiple dimensions. It's really just, for them, one place. The living world, there's all these different living worlds. Fine. They may focus more on one or the other, but for them, the space that they inhabit, it's all really kind of one place. So, and you didn't have on this side you didn't have a Grail Knight or anyone really helping you. In some cases, quite the opposite. So you had to solve for the problem that where you lacked the precision of the antenna. You had to solve that with power, and that meant calling as many spirits to you as you could. And you ranged the world for years, hunting down the wounds and calling any spirits as near, nearby. The first several were terrible, and you couldn't go anywhere near the Halcyon ones. It was just too powerful. And Jason and Rook were doing things nearby there that made it much more dangerous to be there or anywhere near Washington or anything like that, because for other reasons. Eventually you went there. The first couple were very difficult because every time you went to one of these wounds, you had to like spend the time assembling as much, as many spirits as you could and bringing them under your sway and so on and so forth. And it was exhausting. It was time consuming. It took, really like a year for the first one and 6 months for the second and third, each. And until it wasn't always destroying the spirits, but it weakened them. But you realize that in their state, they would stay near you. And so rather than moving on and going to the next place and calling new ones back to you, you kept them with you. And you would move on to the next one. And over time, as you travel, as you moved, as you searched and found the next wound, these spirits recovered, got their strength back. If not all of it, then a lot of it. And there were so many. And then you still assembled spirits in the next place, but it was easier because you already had some. You had like attracts like kind of situation going on there. So over time, your senses sharpened, the power that you had at your disposal increased, obviously. If not exponentially, then certainly noticeably. And you roamed the world, hunting down the locations of these various wounds and healing them. And recovered really, all but a few, it sort of like wiped out all but a few from this side. Occasionally there would be forays against you, and you were never sure whether it was locals or if somehow Quill had sent something through to try to find you. It was more of an annoyance than anything else. Eventually you returned to, the eastern seaboard where a lot of the original damage had been done. Swept through DC almost as an afterthought. And as you were closing in on what you thought of as, and really truly was, the worst of the wounds, you were pulling, at that point in time, just every spirit within range, and your range was so vast, with just this one thought of destroy that final wound, take it out, pour everything you had into it. Didn't matter what kind of defenses might be erected, you would just roll over them like the storm that you were. But the power that you had to pull all these spirits to you was so great at that point in time, and there were so many rolling in, that before you truly reached your destination, so many voices had been pulled to you, and you'd been struggling with this and becoming more and more simple for years, and just not really noticing it because you were only ever really doing this one thing. So it didn't matter that you'd becoming greater and at the same time less. But that was the great thing that was finally brought you to this stopping point that has emptied out every spirit anywhere as far as you can sense. You lost yourself in all the voices that you had called to serve you. They can't hear their general's command, and you can't hear yourself enough to give it. And I keep saying you and yourself because in this connection that you've made, that's what it's like. It's you, but not you, but it's really hard to differentiate any of that. Because it's your memories, but not your memories. It's just this whole wash of things. So, you don't know how long you've been standing there when you come back to yourself. And you have to kind of double check even with the logic of that. It's like, which yourself is that? But you're back on the ground, standing between Harry and JC, solid, okay, with this knowledge, it isn't even knowledge, this memory of how you, not you, now above you, the cloud, come to this place and be in this situation. And you have physically or symbolically or something, that other thing that you were asking for, which is like some artifact that allows you to, from the move. Okay? I'm not going to ask you, well, no, that's not true. I am going to ask you what that is, whether it's symbolic or literal or whatever it is. I'm going to ask you what that is, but I don't want you to tell me. I want you to think about that and have that answer ready when we start next time. Like, what is that thing that you have that, in the words of your move, a potent item that will allow you to use blah, 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 but some kind of item that is going to let you or give you a way to somehow do this. Fix, if not fix, then at least finish it. You may not be able to fix this Charlotte, but you might be able to finish it for her. You don't know. I don't know. We won't know until next session. Everybody's being very quiet now. I'm getting paranoid and scared. We all good? Charlotte? Is this?
We're good. I was
on
mute.
All right. Is it?
Is this saying? Oh, this is good.
Is this cool? This is a good reveal. All right.
I'm jiggy with this.
You are chock-a-block with information and also gigantic danger and warning signs for everything else you have going on in your life, and
About right.
Yeah. All right. So we have gigantic mecha against gigantic evil spider robot. Rainbow middle schooler versus Starfield space cougar. Sorry. Alicia versus all of Jason's little clever bots and booby traps and whatnot. That's actually gotten cleaned up. And Charlotte versus herself. Charlotte versus the tornado. Joe versus the volcano. Something. And other stuff. And that's where we will hopefully conclude this nonsense next session. Hush you. I won't have it.
You know, if you say that, it's going to be another session.
Well, possibly. What session was this? What number was this?
43.
What should we call it? Oh, you're right. We really should have called session 42 Life of the Universe and Everything. It would have even been appropriate. But instead, we have session 43.
Our enemies revealed.
Sure. Yes. I'll buy that. I'm down with that. Margie, I just want to say for the record how much I appreciate that you shortened up your nickname thing and got your little icon in Roll20 down to the same size as everybody else's. That's been bothering me.
It's been bothering me too, and I was trying to figure out what I needed to do, and so I finally figured it out today.
Everybody's
So,
all lined up now. It's great. All right. Alicia, have you grown closer to the team, farther away from the team, or more into your own image of yourself?
Well, Hector.
Foreshadowing.
I'm going to have to say growing into the image of myself.
Okay.
I'm not feeling all that engaged with the team, but I'm going to focus on what I've accomplished, which is basically going in and, clearing all this stuff out and doing all this other stuff. And
You're not
stuff.
further away from the
Fine.
team, but it's definitely all about you doing your thing.
Yeah.
And hey, we got
That
to
makes
use your
sense.
move. So yay.
Woohoo!
Got to use your move. Nice. Okay, so Leo, what about yourself?
Closer to Concord because he came along to fight with me.
Yeah. Got your big old shield. Hooray. Concord, what say you?
And you?
Possibly.
I was on mute.
Okay.
So, this is going to be completely surprising, closer to Leo.
I'm shocked. I am shocked and rocked.
Although that's mostly for, like, the pep talk from the forums.
Which is fair.
But also everything else.
Yes. That's fair. It was a good pep talk though. It was good stuff. Okay, and Mercury.
I guess I'll say closer to Charlotte.
Whatever. I'll just kind of whatever. No, that's good.
Well,
No, it's no. I totally agree. It's just the way you put it. It's like I guess, sort of. Yeah, sure.
well,
I'm
she's
so afraid of her.
scared the shit out of me.
I mean, I can see an argument based on how much you're sort of focusing on how you yourself, older self, dealt with all of this to do some kind of more into my own image of myself kind of a thing. If you're interested in that, but closer to the team is. Or closer to the team in Charlotte totally makes sense, obviously. So that's fine too. So I'm down with that. Go for it.
Yeah.
Remember, if you're taking closer to the team, either take potential or clear condition. That goes for everybody. And finally, Charlotte. What do you think? Closer, further away? Image of yourself. Horrifying, terrifying image of yourself.
I think I have to take image of myself.
I mean, I wouldn't say have to. I mean, there are lots of arguments for all the people who've got your back here, and Harry being right there.
Wait, Mike, shop to liver?
Yeah. I mean, you could certainly make an argument for either one of those things very, very easily, I think. So it's really.
I'm going to say close to the team so I can give influence back to.
Well, no.
No, he had to give it to me.
Which he did. Which he did. Which is fine. But giving the upside of giving influence to Harry is, I mean, you can clear condition, you can take potential, any of those things. So, or
I've
you can.
forgotten to do that like the last.
That's why I try to mention it every time because it's the last thing
Yes.
people think of. When you give influence to people, you get potential or you clear condition. going closer to the team is good stuff.
Yeah, I'll say going close to the team and Harry, even though it's a guilt-ridden.
But he had all those warm and fuzzy images of you to show. That's gotta feel nice.
That was really good.
Yeah, I was. This has been an interesting session of trying to. Not even trying to remember, but for whatever reason, I've been in a mode of asking a lot of questions about what does that look like or what does that feel like or stuff like that. And I like that. I like that. I think any of the apocalypse engines work really well when you remember to ask those kinds of questions and really, especially if they're questions you guys don't already have pat answers to, because sometimes it really comes up with some nice stuff. So there is that. All right. Any last minute stuff besides me saying thank you?
I do have one question,
Yes, sir.
and this is going to be the most out there question,
Okay.
but I'm still going to ask it.
Yes.
Is, Fractal? Is that their name?
Facet.
Fractal? Facet.
Facet.
Yeah, it was something.
It might be Fractal now. I kind of like that. We'll call them Fractal now. They've evolved.
Is New Fractal a plot interesting addition to this fight?
No, they're like a heavily powered minion.
Okay, so the fact that I thought of a way to just take him out in one go is probably not going to be highly disappointing.
No, not at all.
Okay,
That's totally fine. That lets us focus down on stuff. So we'll save that for next time, and we will definitely unload on that.
just remember that at the start of next session.
Yes, absolutely, totally fine with that. Yeah. So that's no, they're like
They're there as brute.
Yeah, they're just there. It's and I'm not gonna bring in Troll because Troll at this time basically looks like a 40-year-old Bart Simpson. He's not a factor anymore. So
That's kind of how I always pictured him.
yeah, well, and even more so 40-year-old Bart Simpson. Yeah. Anyway, so right, that's it.
Got it. Fractal's entire point in this is going to be make Concord look even more awesome.
Sure. Yes. That's fine. Bill, meanwhile, we'll get to. Actually, I'm really looking forward to that. I think it might be a lot of fun because you got nanobots against the bots. All the bots. Punching Jason in his big spider face. At what point, Dave, did you realize that there was going to be a spider? Like when the legs came out, or when it closed around into a ball? There was a point in there where you were like,
that wasn't it, because that was sort of like, oh, so it's a defensive thing, the way that, but when the legs start coming out from the fact that I'm wearing that shirt today probably helped cue that for me.
That's really funny. I didn't realize that you were. So, good stuff. All right.
So just to confirm, because I'm having a slight brain. So Mercury gave influence to me. I didn't already have it, so he doesn't do any label shifting, right?
No, that's correct. He doesn't do any label shifting. All that happens is you get to write Harry down back where I just deleted it off your sheet.
No, Harry gets to write her down.
Both.
On his sheet.
Both.
Wait, I thought that.
Oh, wait. Yes, let's back up. Harry,
So-
just wait for it. Harry gave influence to Charlotte. Charlotte didn't have it. Therefore, Charlotte does not shift Harry's labels because she didn't already have influence. She just gets influence. Harry gave influence. No, sorry, I'm backing up. Charlotte gave influence to Harry. Harry does still have influence over Charlotte. So since Harry has influence over Charlotte, Harry gets to shift labels on Charlotte. So it's not a two-way street like it frequently is. We've had influence over each other for so long that it's weird when we don't.
Picking up, and so
You
Freak
basically.
was. So let's go this back one more. So he was saying up Freak and down Mundane, but my Freak is maxed.
Right.
So the GM gets to give her a condition.
Yes. Because she thinks you're freak. Yeah, right. So your labels don't move. You write down Harry in your little influence thing, which probably in the same spot that I just did it, and you pick up. I'm going to check insecure because I don't want you to have a penalty to unleash your powers. Can I just be that meta about it?
No, that's fine. And I'm going to take away insecure because
You get a
I get to clear condition. So
get to
we'll
clear
leave it
condition.
at the ones I think are.
yeah. That's fine. What? All right, you did it. We kept both unchecking it, and that meant that one of us.
Wait a minute.
Stop it.
Okay,
It's like both.
that's
flipping.
where we're at.
All right, so that's where we're at. Yeah, so that's a bit of a wash there as far as that goes. But yeah, that's the tricky thing about having influences come and go, is it can be a bit of a. And you get Harry back in your
that.
list of
Yes.
influence stuff, so that's all good. Correct. All good. Thank you. I like recording those kinds of conversations because people will eventually have questions about them. So, whoever's stuck.
Besides us.
Besides that, no, this kind of stuff comes up. I mean, you go onto the mass list and you always get people who are asking like, wait, what if this thing happens? And I've mentioned the one player who's like very annoyed by the whole idea that people can shift labels by if he gives them influence and they can shift labels on him if they already have influence, and the idea of being able to take conditions at the end of the game is just terrible and blah, like, dude.
I love it.
It is what it is. And the best, well, that's not true. One of the first best suggestions that you guys have was no, don't make it so we can all see each other's stats. It's better if we're shifting people's labels blind. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. So glad that we left it that way, where you guys are shifting labels blind, because it's good stuff. All right. Thank you guys very much. I'm going to go to bed because I'm sure I got to get up early for something tomorrow. So
Sounds like you're feeling a lot better, so that's good.
well,
Yay.
it was a weird, like, it was never like what you guys kept joking it was. It was nausea, but it was more like it was just weirdly placed. It was like right behind my solar plexus. It did not feel good, and it got much worse when I ate. And then the next day it had moved, but it hadn't really gone away, and I don't think I felt quite right until mid-afternoon, but I never got like where I was like sick. It was just always just a constant, real serious discomfort in the abdominal area. But it was definitely affecting me. The worst of it was definitely that night. So I'm quite glad that we pushed it back a day or two. So thank you guys for your understanding.
The gallbladder
Yeah, don't even.
is like right there,
Yeah.
right in the center.
Yeah, definitely just and it's gone, so I'm fine. But whatever. I took a while.
Think about what you were eating.
You know what it was? I thought it was maybe hunger, but I kind of bolted some fairly spicy Mexican food, so that was in a bit of a rush. And I'm sure I brought a bit of the. I wasn't feeling good already, and then I did that because I was in a real hurry, and I was like, okay, it wasn't hunger, and I'm pretty sure I made it worse. So I rested for quite a bit, and then I was subjected. Not subjected. That's not fair at all because I've been enjoying it. I watched a couple more episodes of the Great British Bake Off thing. I have never watched a reality show of any kind, but dang it, it's really cool. Some of the stuff they do with this stuff is really cool. The greater achievement is that I've watched like 6 of those episodes, and in none of them have I gotten up and eaten every goddamn thing in the kitchen, because that's hard. That is really, really hard. Anyway, all right. Thank you guys very much. I hope to give everybody the ample opportunity to kick serious ass next time, because I think there's I think there's a bunch of ass to be kicked. There are a number of kickable asses in scene, so let's see how this goes. All right.
Good night.
All right.
Good night, guys.
Ready?
Good night.